So, it's time to talk about one of the highlights of Avengers Endgame, how Steve handed Sam the shield when everyone thought that it should be Bucky. I won't lie, even I had my doubts about that. But I guess that's why this show was made, to have Sam earn the shield and mantle. That's right. This week, I'm going to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. As usual, I'm going to talk about the show, explaining it first, and then talk about the characters, then give my final thoughts on the show overall. So, buckle up and strap your shield because we're going for a good ride. Falcon and Winter Soldier starts with Sam rejecting the shield and publicly announcing that it's better not to be in his hands. Naturally, Bucky wasn't happy with him and questioned him throughout the season about that. A new terrorist group arises, led by the ever so charismatic, brave, strong, intimidating Carl Morgenthau. Carly Morgenthau. Sorry, I ran out of breath and forgot the I in the end. Her plan is to restore things to the way they were before everyone was brought back by the Hulk. The secret behind her and her ragtag team of devoted followers' success is the super soldier serum that was reverse engineered by some small time scientist hired by the power broker. Seriously. Is that thing even special anymore? Everyone seems to be getting it. You know, you can just have freakishly strong people in your show, right? That's actually allowed. And by the gods, man, the super soldier serum is supposed to amplify your physical abilities to the peak of human potential. This isn't peak human. This is super strength. This is super speed. I mean, sure, it's a comic book movie, but, come on. You have to have some sort of limit to these things. Anyway, Sam and Bucky are hot on her trail and enlist the help of Zemo, who proves himself invaluable in getting the job done by taking them to Madripoor, where they met Sharon Carter, and she provides them with information that helps them get to the bottom of it. Meanwhile, the government has commissioned a new Captain America, John Walker. He does his best to do his job well, but when he sees that he's in way over his head, he gets himself a super soldier serum vial and becomes a super soldier himself. And the power goes to his head. Heck, a lot happened in these 6 episodes, huh? Gosh. So, when it all gets to the high point, the power broker is revealed to be Sharon. Sam accepts the shield and gets a costume update. Bucky comes to terms with his past, Carly gets killed by Sharon, and John Walker is recruited into some shadowy organization. Sam makes a speech about how he will work hard to make things right, and the public accepts him as the new Captain America. Heck, even I got to accept him there. Who knew? Anyways, let's get to talk about the lead character, Sam Wilson. This was a high hill to climb on for Sam. The fan base was divided by his promotion. People said that it should have gone to Bucky, and the very intelligent, very well read fans argued that he got the mantle in the comics too. I just want to say that Bucky got the mantle before Sam did in the comics. He got it after Steve Rogers died in the Civil War comic in the mid 2000s, while Sam got it around 2014. Let me also provide a reason that fits better within the MCU's context. Falcon was never even a recognizable name. On average, he was called Falcon probably once or twice in his 6 movie appearances. I mean, heck, we barely even knew him as Falcon. I mean, we knew that he was Falcon, but we don't really know him as Falcon. He didn't have a mantle to grow from or to leave behind. He didn't have an identity or anything. Another thing is that the guy wasn't even set up to take Steve's place throughout his appearances anyway. It just came out of nowhere. Who wouldn't be confused by that? I certainly was. Anyway, the show did good by having him reject it and earn it rather than spend the show trying to prove to us that he deserves it. It would have gotten preachy. Thankfully, they handled it well. His character was fleshed out very well in the show. We got to see where he comes from, his sister, and her kids. We get his personality explored a little more, and, well, I liked it. He's not the silent type. He'll talk back. He'll answer everything you say to him, no matter who you are, even if it's his sister. Sister wants to sell the boat? Yeah, you're not selling it. Sister's talking about hardships she faced? Yeah, you're not alone. Sister says there's no fixing the boat? Yeah, no, I'm fixing it. You know, in series, there's always a time when the main character argues with someone, typically, but not always, a female. The character they're arguing with says something long or dramatic, and even if they're ultimately wrong, the main character remains silent. Yeah, Sam doesn't fall for that. He'll talk back. He doesn't let up. I like that about him. He shows his virtues and worthiness when they ask him if he'd take the serum and he says no. And the fact that he can take on super soldiers. I mean, wow. I really like seeing him fight super soldiers. We get to hear him be called Uncle Sam, too. Captain America is Uncle Sam. Huh? Huh? He doesn't come talk to us about how we see people of different hair colors and how they should be treated better and how they should be upstanding citizens and be better because the system is against us or something. He's just a character who happens to have a different hair color and a story being told about him. That's the main thing we're missing with these heroes that have a different hair color these days. I mean, sure, it's difficult. We get it. But can we please hear them talk about something else? I mean, can we show the world that that's not all there is to us? And, well, this show did. Sam delivered on that part. Thank you, Sam. You showed the world that there's more to us than our different hair color. Next up, we have Bucky. He's a World War II veteran, friend of Steve Rogers, who Steve abandoned in the present so he could go live his dream that he had gotten over almost 10 years before Endgame of clapping Peggy and her in the while and then lucky guy. I mean, oh man. Oh man. Oh, where was I? Oh yeah. Bucky was left behind and is learning to live life in the modern day while coming to terms with his past misdeeds. He befriends an old man and tries to help him out due to the guilt he feels over having killed his son. It's a tough thing to go through, and Sebastian Stan sold it well, although his story wasn't fully explored. But hey, we at least watched him get through some of his issues. He has a big problem with Sam letting the shield go, and some may believe that he wished that it was him instead, but he shows throughout the series that he's not interested and just wants Sam to carry on Steve's legacy. Bucky was a good friend. Speaking of good friends, I'd like to introduce you to Sharon Carter. You know Sharon, right? She was the only girl Steve found attractive enough to ask out in The Winter Soldier after Natasha named so many girls that he could have asked out, but he wasn't interested in any one of them. And then he sees Sharon and he's like, hey, let me give it a shot. And, well, she curved him, then turned around to glance at him every time they crossed paths from then on. She was also covertly helping him throughout Civil War. until they even made out when he became a fugitive, and she kept helping him with classified information. After that, she just disappeared, and Steve went back in time to fornicate her aunt. Why? Because fans shipped him and Peggy. Why else? Because it was the only way to write Steve out without killing him, since Chris Evans publicly announced his retirement from the role after Endgame, I guess. But where does that leave Sharon? Turns out Steve didn't care, and neither did the fans or the writers of Endgame. So the writers of this show did what they could with her. Unfortunately, she felt like she was added to the show simply because she's a Captain America character who already exists in the MCU. Not that she didn't add to the story, she just didn't do anything. You couldn't invent a character like the actual power broker from the source material, but okay. She was misused and is still misunderstood. The show tried to make her a more complex character and give her more of a moral gray area, but it just doesn't work. Not with her. And it's not even because I like Sharon and Emily Van Camp. She's definitely going in one of my crushes. Speaking of misunderstood, let's have a look at John Walker, aka former Captain America, aka US Agent. I actually like that name. It's a really cool name. Anyway, I'm not sure whether he was meant to be likable or not. He wasn't really a bad guy or a bad person. He just made some rookie mistakes and got in way over his head. He wasn't ready to deal with the kind of stuff a Captain America should be equipped to deal with. I don't understand why fans hated him too. Apparently, they sent Wyatt Russell death threats. It's really weird considering he wasn't a bad guy. Cocky? Yeah, sure, but not a bad guy. He was just trying to do the right thing, do his job, but everywhere he went, the door was shut in his face. He was the second most tragic character in the show. Speaking of tragic, let's look at Carly Morgenthau. She's a pretty noble villain. She isn't explored very well, but they offer a lot of exposition on what she could be doing and what she's motivated by. She's a very weird villain. Her cause is alright, I guess. I mean, uniting the whole world, no borders? Yeah, that's alright, I suppose. Or was it that she wanted to restore the world to what it was during the 5 years between Infinity War and Endgame? What was that exactly? Depressed people everywhere? A rundown world? Free or cheap real estate? Less traffic? More job opportunities? Less pollution? You know what? That doesn't sound too bad. I'm actually starting to think that maybe Thanos was right. Her ultimate, or rather exact goal, was unclear to me. Maybe someone else can explain it to me someday. Speaking of explanations, let me explain why I like the show for the most part. Falcon and Winter Soldier is a cool show. It's grounded, it's action packed, it has a nice story. Sam is expanded upon and given more of a distinct personality. He grew a lot. The story touched on some really deep messaging and unraveled things we'd probably be too uncomfortable to talk about, like this guy. I did not expect this kind of story to hit this close to home. I got teary eyed when I saw his statue in the museum. This is a man who went through a harsh life, even for a soldier. He was taken and experimented on when they were trying to recreate the super soldier serum, and all the others who were taken with him died. He served his country and even pulled a Steve Rogers by going against orders to rescue captured folks. They even sent him to fight the Winter Soldier, and he won. But all of his records were erased. He was held prisoner and experimented on for 30 years, and his wife didn't even know he was alive. He was helped by a sympathetic nurse and has remained in hiding since. he broke out. His wife died before he got out, too, and he found out that she was sending him letters that never reached him. Basically, he didn't exist. But, Sam got him a statue in the Captain America Museum. Remember when I said that John Walker was the second most tragic character in the show? That's because of this guy. Moving on, uh, John Walker was great for the show. It explored his devotion perfectly, and you could really feel for him when he said
They weren't even super soldier.
he was never gonna match Steve in feats, but he was trying. He even tried to be friends with Sam and Bucky, and to be honest, they were the seventh planets here. Sam was behaving like that girl who rejects you and gets jealous of any girl who talks to you afterwards. The buddy cop dynamic between Sam and Bucky was also inconsistent. I mean, they hate each other or not, because sometimes it looks like they do, sometimes they can't stand each other but acknowledge that they work well together. Sometimes Sam just ditches Bucky because he doesn't want him around. I mean, what's going on? And let me not get started with the power broker thing. You people really have no idea what to do with Sharon Carter, do you? That reveal was just so underwhelming and boring and uncalled for. Why Sharon? Whatever. I'll get the answer to that as soon as someone can explain to me why fans blew this one shot that took 1 second of screen time so out of proportion with hype that Marvel released a full dance scene of the guy. Seriously, first that Agatha song and now this? I have a big problem with fans taking control or having an influence on how storylines go. I mean, what's the point of watching something if you can just go on Twitter, Instagram, and sometimes YouTube to see what theories the show will appropriate? Which requests are reasonable enough to be accepted because, everything that happens is all part of the grand design. Everything that happened was planned from the start. Speaking of grand designs, for the life of me, I'll never understand Disney's fascination with this actress. First, she's in Solo as Emphasis, the leader of some criminal gang that steals coaxium, who's then revealed to be a girl in what I guess was supposed to be a genius plot twist because, her voice doesn't sound like that behind the mask. I just like to point out that Star Wars doesn't have this boy to girl problem or girl boy problem or whatever it is that you guys were trying to undermine with that reveal. Like, Star Wars never had that, actually. So, I don't know. This reveal just seems so weird and out of place. And then we find out that the coaxium belongs to her people and she's stealing it back. So, justice? Social justice? I I guess I get it, but she's yeah, well, then we have her here again as the leader of a terrorist group for another just cause of tearing down borders. Okay, you know what? I get it, but she's just not it. She's so bland, lifeless, and uninspiring. The only reason I'd follow her is because I believe in what she's doing, but not that I look at her as a charismatic leader because she doesn't really transmit that energy at all. And it's just weird because the producers said that they wanted someone for women to look up to. And I'm like, but she's a terrorist. She stole vials of super soldier serum so she can go around hurting people who disagree with her views physically in ways that they can't really fight against. I don't think that's somebody you want people to look up to, but Okay. And I just have to ask, how is a teenager beating up a two-time Medal of Honor recipient? Anyway, this show started off well, but the finale was actually the weakest episode, despite it being so action-packed. The redeeming factor? Sam's cap suit is the best MCU hero costume since Steve's stealth suit in The Winter Soldier. I think this show did good, but could have been better. Sam actually earned the title of Captain America by the end of it, or at least he did in my eyes. Well, I'm done talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, so let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Also, did you know that Sam Wilson's nephew appeared in The Incredible Hulk all the way back in 2008? Jim Wilson, one of the guys who caught the Hulk on camera fighting the army in Culver University.